From South Carolina Public Radio, this is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Welcome to all you lovebirds out there. It's a special Valentine's week this week, Dano. Happy Valentine's Day.
Brandon. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Coming up this hour, we're going to put your knowledge of romantic comedies and love songs to the test with a special edition of Before and After. And we're going to hear some stories about candy that may or may not be true. Also, if you're having a little lover's tiff with your Valentine, we're going to speak to a local educator about the importance of healthy conflict in relationships.
I love everything you just said, Dano.
Yeah,
and
you
I
do.
also love healthy competition. That's what we do here on Who, What, When. If you'd like a chance to play the games with us, all you got to do is give us a call or a text, 803-470-6347. That's the number. Here it is again, 803-470-6347. You can also send us an email if you'd prefer, whowhatwhen at scpublicradio.org. You might get a shot at the chance to get the weekly title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week and the exclusive trophy, the Who, What, When Fanny Pack. It's huge.
Oh, man, that fanny pack is a big deal. Big enough to put all your Valentines you got this year, Brandon, in.
I don't know. I got a lot of Valentines.
You got a lot of Valentines?
Yeah, I do.
You got to give everyone to everybody in the class.
Well,
right?
I got to give one to everyone in the class, and I got some special ones for AT and Sean and whatnot, and, you know, it's big.
It's big. And Valentine's Day is a big deal, Brandon. This is a time of year where we all try to tell everybody how much we love them.
Sure.
However,
I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
Okay.
But Valentine's Day hasn't always been directly connected to romance.
Oh.
The day is known as St. Valentine's Day, or the Feast of St. Valentine, because it originated as a day honoring a Roman priest and martyr whose name happened to be Valentine.
And by martyr, you mean that Valentine was persecuted and killed for his belief in Christianity.
That's exactly what martyr means, Bran. Thanks for chiming in with that definition. According to religious scholars, Valentine lived during the 3rd century.
3rd century.
You're big on the 3rd century. A time when largely pagan Roman Empire was going after Christians because of their faith. Now, there are a few stories about Valentine's martyrdom, but the one that most of us think is true is that he caught the attention of Emperor Claudius II. Because he would perform marriage ceremonies for Christian couples and Roman soldiers, both of which were not allowed under Roman law at the time. Claudius had Valentine imprisoned and eventually put to death. Happy Valentine's Day, am I right? There's another story that's lesser known. While Valentine was in prison, he helped to heal his jailer's daughter of her blindness.
Wow.
And right before Valentine was executed, he wrote to the daughter and signed it, "From your Valentine," as a farewell. So that's where we get Valentine.
I got to be honest with you. For as gooey and mushy as Valentine's Day is now, Valentine's pretty punk rock.
Yeah, pretty punk rock.
He's over there. He's just doing stuff.
Yeah, he is.
He's saying, I don't care what you say.
I don't care about the man.
I'm
I
awesome.
wanna marry people if they want to be married.
Now, Dan, I got to ask you a question. How did we get from, Valentine in the jail healing the blindness to what we think of with the holiday now?
The jail healing the blindness.
That's right.
I saw them live. They're
so good.
Phenomenal. Brand, so historians usually point to the 14th or 15th centuries as the period when Valentine's Day started to turn into something more of a celebration of romantic love. By the 1700s, couples in England were using the day to express their love for each other by giving gifts like flowers, candy, and even greeting cards.
Oh, the 1700s candy. If you haven't had any, unbelievable.
And at that time, those cards would have been handmade cards, but all that changed in the 1800s when Valentine's Day cards started being mass produced.
Thanks, Hallmark.
Yeah, and that's when it started becoming the holiday that we know today.
It's a big deal now.
Yeah,
I get a little bit upset, Dan. I got to be honest with you. You know I'm a big Christmas fan, and so I go into the stores on the 26th, and Valentine's Day stuff is already up. But Valentine's Day is a big deal. There's lots of candies. There's lots of things that go along with it. It's big money.
You love the candy hearts.
I do. I love the candy heart, but only the Sweethearts brand. Brock's, get out of here.
That's weird. And it's a day that a lot of people, I think, brand believer, it's over commercialized.
Sure.
And I would happen to agree with that. But I do speak for both of us when I say that no matter how I feel about Valentine's Day, we love. And we're excited to be sharing that love today, Brand.
Well, I'll agree to disagree with you on that one, buddy. While it's a great bit of history that you gave us, I think what we really got to do here is get to the goal of this show.
Yeah.
which is a little game we call Who What When, Dano.
Yeah, we talked about people getting killed in the 2nd and 3rd century, but now let's focus on more about the things we like about Valentine's Day. The candy, the rom-coms, and the other holidays that we celebrate in February.
That's right. And that's actually what our first game is going to be about, Dano. But in order to get started, I think we're going to need a couple of contestants.
We sure are, and we've got some on the line with us today. Contestant number 1, what's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Tim. I live here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh,
Charleston,
wonderful.
South Carolina, Tim.
Tim, do you have anybody that you want to shout out that you love? Maybe a little love message that you would like us to deliver?
Oh, my sweet Valentine, my wife, Kelly.
How long have you been married?
Married for a little over 2 years, but we've been together for 12.
How about
All right.
that? And is there a song that you'd like us to play? We probably can't, but is there a song that you'd like to dedicate to her?
Yeah, Jungle by the Electric Light Orchestra.
Okay, if
Yeah,
we can play it, it'll play right
now.
here.
File missing.
Boy, wasn't that fun.
That was
ELO
beautiful.
never disappoints.
Love
Tim,
it.
thanks for joining us here on Who What When, and shout out Kelly.
Shout out.
Shout out Kelly.
Let's meet who you're competing against and hope it's not Kelly. Caller number 2, what's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Rob from Travelers Rest, South Carolina.
Traveler's Rest.
We know it well, Dan.
The old Swamp Rabbit Trail from our hometown
We
of
love it.
Greenville ends up right in Traveler's Rest up
Beautiful area, beautiful
That's
area.
right.
Rob, anybody that you love that you would like to share a love message for?
I adore my wife, Sharon.
there.
We love Sharon. How long have you been married to Sharon?
38 years.
38
amazing,
years.
Rob. You're an
Unbelievable.
inspiration.
Only 38.
Only 38.
That's right.
You'll get up there eventually, buddy. Rob, do you have a song that you would like to dedicate?
Dedicated to the one I love.
File missing.
I love it. I love
Beautiful.
it. All right, so we got Rob, we got Tim, we got Sharon, we got Kelly. It's a whole gang
Yes.
here on the Valentine's Day episode. So we're going to play our first game, which has nothing to do with Valentine's Day. Brandon's called Take the Day Off. Now, it seems like all of us here are in love, and we have significant others, so Valentine's Day means something to us. But did you know there's a national holiday you could celebrate every day of the month of February that isn't Valentine's Day?
That's true. I actually haven't worked in over 3 years.
That's right. You just keep looking at the calendar going, there's
I said I
another
can't
day.
get in trouble for this.
That's right.
It's Acorn Day.
It's Acorn Day.
and I love it.
I got to go out and pick some acorns.
That's right.
I can't possibly waste my time going to work.
That's
so,
right.
In this game, we're going to learn about some other holidays in February that may be a little bit lesser known.
Okay.
That if you don't want to celebrate Valentine's Day, you can celebrate this day instead.
I love this. This is a great idea.
Fantastic. We're going to start with Tim. Tim, are you ready for your first question here on Take the Day Off?
I am ready.
Here we go. In a bit of savvy marketing, Sling TV chose February 9th, the date the service started, to found this day, a celebration of leaving traditional satellite and cable TV. Is it A, National Stream Day, B, National Cut the Cord Day, or C, National Analog Out Day?
Ooh, good options. Tim, are you familiar with Sling TV?
I know of it. I do like the sound of C, but everything's telling me to go with B, Cut the Cord Day.
He's going with B, and he's correct.
Off
February 9th.
to the races. Here we go.
Cut the Cord Day.
I've cut the cord.
Yeah, I think we all have.
AT?
Talking about our
Hold
producer,
on.
A.T.
have
Shire.
cable.
You have
has
cable?
actual coaxial cable that is TV in your house.
We're cutting this out, or it's pod only. It's pod only. I to get Sunday tickets so I can watch the Eagles.
Here it
Go
comes.
Birds. You had to have DirecTV.
Yeah,
Okay?
that was my problem with NLB for years.
Until this year is the
Yeah.
first year without it, and
Me too.
so I still have it as a vestige of the past.
Okay, fantastic.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on. February 9th, shout out National Cut the Cord Day.
Shout out.
I
Shout
wish
out.
it was National Analog Out Day because I just love that title
I like
so
that.
much.
Let's pitch it to them.
We'll pitch it.
We'll
pitch
pitch it to Sling.
Great.
But hey, we're not giving it to you for free, Sling.
No,
You're gonna have to pay us.
not on your life. Tim is on the board 1-0. Rob, it's your turn. We're playing Take the Day Off. Your first question. February 12th has 3 national days that share the space on the calendar. National Plum Pudding Day, National Clean Out Your Computer Day, and this holiday, a time set aside to recover from the festivities of the big game.
Oh.
Is it A, National Soup or Bowl Day, B, National Early Spring Day, or C, National Football Hangover Day?
Wow. It's a tough one, Rob.
Wow. So I'm not even sure what football games are going on, but I like the Super Bowl day.
It's soup or bowl. So SOUP or bowl, BOWL.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's going with National Soup or Bowl Day.
Yeah?
Incorrect. Incorrect.
no.
We're looking for National Football.
Rob, it's okay. It's a long game, bud. You got this. We're good. We got the mistake out first, and we're good to go moving forward. But this does bring up an interesting question. Rob, are you more soup or are you more bowl?
Oh, I'm definitely a super.
Yeah. I thought you might be.
Of course you are. We're looking for National Football Hangover Day.
Oh.
Is what we're looking for. After the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, the big football
You take
game.
the day off the next day, and you just take it easy. When I was in college at the University of South Carolina, my geography professor canceled the Monday class after the Super Bowl because he was a Midwestern boy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, seems like a great
But
guy.
I don't like if it's National Football Hangover Day. I feel like that should be a floating holiday that lands the Monday after the Super Bowl, not a set date of February 12th. That seems like a misjudgment by whoever came up with that.
National Plum Pudding Day's thunder there.
That's
All right,
exactly right.
Rob, you missed that one. It's 1-0. Tim has the lead in the board. Tim, your next question, you're going to take the day off. Why wait until Valentine's Day when a day earlier you could be celebrating this better cheese? A, National Brie Day. B, National Cheddar Day. Or C, National Gouda Day.
So this is February 13th we're talking about?
February 13th.
Oof. Tim, what are you thinking?
Celebrating a cheese, man.
I mean, I do that every day, but
Born and raised in Wisconsin, I've never met a cheese I didn't like.
amen, brother.
Brie's real nice and creamy.
Uh-huh.
You know, I like that. I'm going with Brie.
All right.
He's going with Brie. It was a Gouda guess, but it was incorrect. I did say this
Oh, boy.
better cheese. Cheddar is better.
Oh, I see what you did there. You sneaky
Yes,
boy.
Sneaky boy. It is cheddar we're looking for. National Cheddar Cheese Day. And I got to be honest, if you told me I could get rid of Valentine's Day and get a National Cheddar Cheese Day, I'm on board.
I think that's fair.
I'm on board with that.
I think that's fair.
Come on, man. National Cheddar Cheese Day. So, swing and a miss there, Tim. You're still up 1-0. Rob, the board is yours.
Your moment, Rob.
Your next question here on Take the Day Off. Brothers Brian and Michael Speciale invented the wearable blanket in 2017. So it should come as no surprise that they founded this cozy holiday in 2021, celebrated each year on February 20th. Is it National Comfy Day, National Lazy Day, or National Couch Potato Day?
Rob.
Okay, all right. I'll say Comfy Day.
He's saying National Comfy Day, and he's correct.
Here he
He's
is.
correct.
Rob's come to play. Can I ask you this, Dan? What is the wearable blanket, the Snuggie?
So this
So
is
that's really the Snuggie's been around forever.
yeah. There's the Snuggie. There's the Slanket. This is called the Comfy.
Oh,
Which is the wearable blanket designed by the Speciale brothers called the Comfy.
That explains
and it's been worn
today.
by Selena Gomez and many other stars around the world.
all right. Well, if Selena's doing it, then
think-
who can argue?
I don't know. The Comfy, the Slanket, and the Snuggie are all the same thing, but this one has a day, the National
There
Comfy
you go.
Day.
Makes
That's right.
sense.
Yeah. All right. It's tied up. We're playing Take the Day Off here on Who What When South Carolina Public Radio. Tim, the board's yours. Your question. Put away the breads, pastas, cereals, and oatmeal because February 21st was founded as a day to recognize the challenges of a restricted diet and to promote inclusivity around meals.
Well, that's nice.
Is that A, National Grain Free Day, B, National Atkins Day, or C, National South Beach Day?
Tim, what are you thinking?
Jeez. The first two are similar.
Yep.
I'm going grains on that one.
Yeah, he is. He's going Grain Free Day, and he's correct.
See how he did that? You see how he did that? He talked to, he said, what do all
That's
these have in
right.
common? I like that a lot. Well done, Tim.
You could still eat plenty of cheddar cheese.
All right.
that
You can.
day if you
You
wanted,
can eat
but
all the
no
cheese you
grains.
want to.
National Grain Free. It'd be a tough day for us, Brand. We love the gluten around here. It
We
is
love
what
it.
it is. National Grain Free Day, February 21st for
Beautiful.
those who celebrate. Rob, Tim's now up 2-1, but the board's yours. Your next question here on Take the Day Off. Use your phone on February 27th as if. This totally far out day is celebrated by remembering those tubular times before the internet, cell phones, and social media. Is it A, National 90s Day, B, National Way Back Day, or C, National Retro Day?
Rob, tell me what you're thinking.
Let's see. 90s was a long time ago. Way back or retro day? Well, both way back and retro are ways of saying the same thing. But I think retro is kind of a cool name. So I'm going to go with retro.
Way to think it through, Rob. He's correct.
Beautiful.
It's National Retro Day.
Of the 3 days, I think Retro Day is the best name. And if we're going to do a thing, let's have a good name to it. I like that, Rob. Good thinking.
We're going to do a thing. Let's have a good name.
That's
I've
right.
said it for years.
Welcome to Who What When. It's a good name.
It's a good
We spent a lot of time coming up with that name, everybody. So stop emailing us about how it's confusing or whatever. It's a great name.
Wait. Don't email me again about Who What When. Here we go. It's Who What When here on South Carolina Public Radio. It's Rob. It's Tim. It's Valentine's Day.
It's tie game.
We're playing Take the Day Off. It's 2-2 with 2 questions left in the round. Things are getting serious. 2s are wild. Tim, your last question of the round. Here we go. It's my day, and I want it now. Every 4 years on February 29th, we celebrate Leap Day, which H&R Block also founded as this holiday.
Okay.
Is it A, National Tax-Free Day? Is it B, National Time Refund Day? Or C, National Self-Audit Day?
Well, nobody likes a self-audit. I'm going with B.
He's going with B, and he's correct. It is Time Refund Day.
What does that even mean?
It means you get that day. The day is yours.
Refund?
I don't know.
It just seems like H&R Block
It
was
seems
just
like they're trying to sell tax audits.
I don't think it does seem like a way for them to make money.
It seems we lost the spirit of it.
You get a free day.
You get a free day.
You get a free day. It's
time refund.
It's a time refund.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. It's 3-2. You got a chance to tie this bad boy up to end the round. Your last question here on Take the Day Off. The U.S. Figure Skating Association established February 1st as this day, a reminder to persevere and keep going, no matter how many times you fall. Is it A, National Get Up Day? B, National Ducks Fly Together Day? Or C, National Triple Sow Cow Day?
National Triple Sow Cow Day.
Well, if you're figure skating, you're going to have to get up. It's ducks fly together. I don't know what that has to do with figure skating. Triple sow cow sounds like a skating term, so I'm going to go with triple sow cow.
Oh, it is a skating term, but we overthought it here, Rob. It's National Get Up Day. You fall down. The question said you got to persevere and keep going no matter how many times you fall. And I'm going to try to comfort Bran a little bit because you did not know about Brand's favorite movie of all time, The Mighty Ducks.
That's right, Rob. And you do live close enough to me to where I'm going to invite myself over to your home and we will watch The Mighty Ducks together. And I think we'll have a wonderful time.
It sounds great.
I love that. You're listening to Who What When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Brandon Gray.
And I'm Daniel Thompson. With Valentine's Day this week, we're playing games all about romance, candy, and everything else that we love about this day of love. And we love that we have our contestants, Tim and Rob, playing along with us.
That's right. This romantic edition of Who What When continues right after this break.
Welcome back to Who What When, South Carolina Public Radio's hour of history, games, and trivia. I'm Daniel Thompson here with my best buddy, Brandon Gray.
Hello.
It's Valentine's Day week, and we're celebrating with games about love and everything that goes with it.
That's right. And we'll get back to those games in just a moment. But first, a quick reminder that all we really want for Valentine's Day is for you to join us for a future episode of this here program. All you got to do is give us a call or a text. The number is 803-470-6347, or you can send us an email if you'd rather, whowhatwhen@scpublicradio.org. You might get a chance to become the Who What When Champion of the Week, and you'll get a special prize, the Who What When Fanny Pack.
The best in the game. They're the best in the game, Brian. Right now we're playing with our contestants, Rob from Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and Tim from Charleston, South Carolina. And we've got callers from both ends of the state today.
Yeah, and they both struggled a bit in that first segment. I got to be honest with you. And we're hoping,
tough seg.
we're hoping that all that's going to change with this next game. It's one that we're calling Before and After Love Edition.
You're right, Brand. Here's how this game's going to work. We're going to give Rob and Tim two different things related to love and romance. Rom-coms, love songs, things like that. And they'll need to combine them to make something completely new. For example, this 1995 song by Oasis about you maybe being the one that saves me becomes a Pixar movie about two robots falling in love.
I'm usually pretty bad at these,
That's
but I
right.
got that
You
one.
got
It's
that one.
Wonder Wally.
Wonder Wally's great. We should have saved
I
that
do a pretty
for
good Wally.
Tim and Rob.
Wally.
Wally. Yeah, you got it, Bran. And
Thank you.
Tim's going to be up first on this before and after love edition. Tim, you ready for your first question?
I'll give it the old college try.
I love to hear
Do it for Callie,
Here we go.
Tim.
The 1999 romantic comedy based on Shakespeare, starring Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger, becomes the 1998 romantic comedy starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks as enemies that are actually falling in love online.
Wow. Tim,
Ooh.
any of that working for you?
Oh boy, yeah. I think I was absent for late '90s romantic comedies, but I'm standing at the Blockbuster. I can see them together. It's 10 Things I Hate About You've Got Mail.
Yeah!
Tim came to play.
10
How about
things I hate about You've Got Mail is
amazing.
correct.
Amazing.
What a pull. What a pull from Tim there. Rob, got pressure's on. Rob, that was a fantastic pull by Tim there. Are you ready for your first question here on Before and After?
I am. Awesome job, Tim.
Whitney Houston's famous ballad from the film The Bodyguard becomes AC/DC's 1980 rock anthem about a night out after the show.
Oh, boy, I'm totally lost. Whitney Houston's from The Bodyguard.
Yes, that's it. You
Yeah,
got it.
You got it?
But the AC/DC, I'm going to have to put up the white flag on this.
More than fair. Just for the fun of it. Tim, do you have any idea what that one was?
I'm going to take a stab at it. I think it's "And I Will Always Love You Shook Me All Night Long."
That is correct, yes.
That's it.
I
No
will-
bonus points, Tim.
No bonus
but
points, but nicely done.
Oh, man.
Brownie points.
Here we go. Tim, it's your question. A chance to take a commanding lead here in the Valentine's Day episode. Before and After's Love Edition. This 2009 Miley Cyrus anthem about loving music with your dream and your cardigan, even in LAX, becomes this 1979 sci-fi classic where Sigourney Weaver's Ripley loves surviving and not becoming a host for extraterrestrials.
Ooh, Tim.
Okay, let's see. What goes with Alien? Oh, boy. And I will always love Alien.
I will always love Alien. That's
is true, but we're looking for Party in the U.S. Alien is what we're looking for.
Okay.
It's a
I guess
party
I
in the
got to start listening to
USA.
more Miley Cyrus.
I don't
You
know
don't
if that's
have
the
to.
takeaway, but
Yeah.
I think you're good.
But also, you call into a trivia program on public radio. How much Miley you think you're going to need to know? More than you think. Okay, Rob, your chance to get back in this thing. Before and Afters here on Who What When. This 1995 Sandra Bullock, Bill Pullman romantic comedy set at Christmas around a fake romance where one partner is in a coma becomes this 1959 Disney animated classic about a princess, a witch, and a poisonous apple.
Rob.
Well, we've got Sleeping Beauty,
Yep.
and then we've got Sandra Bullock and Bill Pullman. The Christmas romance?
Yeah, Christmas rom-com where one partner's in a coma.
Coma Beauty.
I love the guess. We're looking for While You Were Sleeping Beauty. While You Were Sleeping
While
Beauty.
You Were Sleeping is the rom-com that you were looking
right.
for,
That's right.
Rob. A movie, and did you know this? Have you heard about this?
I heard about this. Yes, because you bring it up
screenwriters-
every time.
The screenwriters of While You Were Sleeping wrote the movie, tried to sell it for years. They finally sold it, and they never wrote another
one again.
movie.
That's right. I just said, this is it.
They're in and
we're
out. They
done.
did their thing. They made their money, and they're out of there. How about that?
All right. That's close, Rob. You had half of it there. Tim, you still got that 2-point lead. We're coming back to you. Your question on Before and Afters. This 2003 chart topper was the first collaboration between Beyonce and Jay-Z. Becomes this T Swift, pop country classic about a modern-day Romeo and Juliet.
Wow. Now, Tim, I know you don't know much Miley Cyrus. Are you a Beyonce, Jay-Z fan?
You're killing me with these
Modern references.
pop songs. Again, I don't think I could recognize any of those people's songs even if I heard them.
Yeah, it happens to the best
Anything
of
to do
us.
with aliens.
Yeah, I hate that. We're looking for Crazy in Love Story.
Crazy in Love by Beyonce.
That's exactly what I was gonna
Love
do.
Story, Taylor Swift. Bada bing, bada boom.
There you go.
no.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna say I'm not much of a Swiftie.
not much of a Swiftie. Rob, Tim's
No.
left the door open for you here. Another chance. Your next clue on the
Okay.
before and afters. Here we go. Both a song by Frank Sinatra in 1954 and a 2024 NASA-based rom-com starring Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson becomes this Oscar-winning 1987 rom-com starring Cher and Nicolas Cage.
Wow.
Well, the 19 that's Moonstruck.
Yep.
Okay.
Why the other one was Fly Me to the Moon.
There you go. So put them together.
Fly Me to the Moonstruck.
Fly me to the
Yeah. Rob, clawing his
Rob
way back.
is back in business, baby.
Well
He did
done,
it.
Rob. Well done.
Yeah. Now, Tim, your next one. This Shakira hit from 2005 is a love letter from her to great music that makes her want to dance. Becomes this 2008 Will Smith zombie movie that's a love letter to humanity.
Shakira. Okay. What is that Will Smith movie again? It's I Am Legend, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's right.
And I will always love I Am Legend.
Oh, we're looking for Hips Don't Lie, Am Legend.
You know,
okay.
hips
All
don't
right.
lie.
Hips Don't Lie, Am Legend. All right. well,
Tim is having a string of bad luck,
Yeah,
which is bad
it's tough.
for him. Great for Rob, though.
Rob.
He's only down one.
That's right.
We got a couple to go.
That's right.
The door is still open.
Rob, here we go.
Okay.
Some people want it all, but Alicia Keys don't want nothing at all. In this 2003 hit, becomes this 1964 Righteous Brothers classic that regained popularity after Tom Cruise crooned it to Elizabeth Shue in Top Gun.
Guys, I can't put it together.
It's all right. That is a Righteous Brothers song. It's if I ain't got you've lost that loving feeling.
You've lost that
you
love
lost it.
and
Yeah, you're right.
feeling.
That's right. You've lost that love and feeling. Tim, if you get this one right, you've officially won and you're moving on to the championship round. No pressure. Here we go. This 2008 smash hit set the Marvel Cinematic Universe in motion, and Tony Stark realized he could love more than just himself. Becomes this Shania Twain smash hit that's an ode to girl power.
This is a good one. I like this one a lot.
All right. I do know this one. It's Iron Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
Oh,
We're looking for Iron Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Tim has gotten it right, and with that, has won the first two rounds
it's amazing.
of Who What When. Tim, congratulations, sir.
It's great news for Tim.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
Rob, we hate to see you go, though. We've loved having you on the show.
What a
You've been
player.
a wonderful contestant. Anything you would like to leave the listeners with as you head on out?
Hope everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day.
Oh, what a guy.
Beautiful. Rob,
Above
we
and
love
beyond,
you,
Rob.
buddy. Thank you so much for calling
Thanks
in
for playing,
to Who,
Rob.
What, When. This is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia from South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Brandon Gray, and I'm here with my Valentine, Daniel Thompson.
Oh, thanks, buddy. And we're spreading the love today to celebrate Valentine's Day this week. Our contestant, Tim, is heading to our final game today. We'll see if he'll be our Who What When champion of the week and take home that sweet, sweet fanny pack.
All of that and more is coming back after this break here on Who, What, When.
Welcome back to Who What When, an hour of history, games, and trivia here on South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. We're celebrating Valentine's Day this week with an episode all about love and relationships. And before we get back to our games, we wanted to take a moment for a little special segment.
That's right,
Special
Brant.
segment alert.
Special segment alert. Occasionally here on Who, What, When, we like to spotlight South Carolina educators.
Yeah.
Those that are educating young South Carolinians around the state. And today we're joined by Michael J. Lee, Professor of Communication and Director of the Civility Initiative at the College of Charleston. He's also host of When We Disagree, a podcast about memorable disagreements in our lives. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thank y'all for having me. Happy to be part of y'all's special segment.
It's a special segment, Mike.
That's right.
Mike, we're talking all about Valentine's Day today, relationships, all that good stuff. And while we like to focus on the happy times in our lives, truth is, any relationship is, of course, going to have some fights, some struggles, if you will. You study healthy conflicts between people, whether it's friends who have disagreements about politics to romantic couples who aren't seeing eye to eye on something. Can you tell us more about the college's Civility Initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. We do healthy dialogue training. We encourage dialogue across difference, and we promote healthy conflict in our interpersonal relationships, in our organizations, our businesses, obviously our college campuses. And then, of course, the national conversation we're all having about collective, peaceful coexistence and getting our needs met. And to that end, I host panels, debates, speakers, book talks. I do screenings. And then the podcast I host, When We Disagree, is about memorable disagreements in all of our lives. So each episode, one guest, truly random guests, come on, and they answer one question, which is, what's a disagreement you just can't get out of your head?
Wow. That's fascinating. The way we communicate has changed historically, especially in the last half century or so. So how does the way we communicate changing technologically, how does that affect disagreement?
It's such a good question. You know, the big one is that we'd like to think of communication, even conflict, even love, as being interpersonal, as being dynamic, right? A process between you and I who can see each other in real time, and being a product of our words, right? The things we say to one another. But communication is also really deeply embodied, right? I can look at you and look at your eye contact. What are you doing with your hands? Do you look trustworthy? Are you smiling? Are you smiling in a friendly way? Can I see your teeth? And then also embodied in terms of the way that I relate to you. What's going on in my nervous system? Is my heart rate higher because I'm nervous about what you're going to do or what you're going to say? Do I feel safe in this disagreement? Do I feel safe in this relationship? And so to take the body out of it, to take the interpersonal dynamic, the kind of physicality of communication out of it and put it online is deeply strange for the way that human beings have always communicated.
So we're really big with the 20 and 30-year-olds. That's our main demo.
Okay.
And I know a lot of those people are on the dating apps. Your Tinder, your Hinge. I don't really know what those are. I know what like Tinder Meet is, and I know what the Hinge of a Door is.
Hinge of a Door.
But I understand them to be dating apps. How have the dating apps kind of changed the way that people are meeting, communicating, and even maybe having disagreements with people that they're trying to get to know for potential relationships?
Yeah, I saw somebody the other day, a very famous therapist, was talking about the ways in which dating app culture has made first dates, second dates, and meetups more like job interviews, where there is kind of like an audition aspect to it, where you really need to perform at your best self, get your kind of relationship CV, your relationship resume out. And we're also meeting people outside of the context of our normal relationship. So now then, or our normal lives. Like we hang out at a bowling alley and we meet somebody. We meet somebody at church. We meet somebody here, there, and elsewhere, right? As opposed to we meet somebody special in a special place, which is online, on Hinge, on Bumble. And then maybe it goes pretty well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates in, and it's time for the big debut, right? We got to integrate this person back into our lives. It used to be quite the opposite, right? You'd meet in the course of your normal life. You've been vetted by other people. It's a friend of a friend that you're meeting. And then gradually maybe somebody pairs off and then they begin their own separate life, kind of away from the original context in which they met.
Yeah. So this is fascinating, Mike. Your podcast, which is talking about having healthy relationships with people that you disagree with. Everyone has a friend or is the person that doesn't want to go home for the holidays because they have an uncle and aunt who's just going to disagree with them on politics.
Yeah.
And it becomes this thing where they almost feel like they need to stand on principle. And they're like, I've known this person my whole life, but I think what they're doing is what they think is morally wrong. And so it almost like it elevates the disagreement to a rivalry at some sense. what are some tips, some things to keep in mind when trying to be civil and cordial and loving to those that you know ahead of time you're going to see once or twice a year and you're going to have some vehement disagreements with?
Well, it's always the uncle, isn't it? When we imagine these scenarios, it's always the uncle.
It's always the uncle. Yeah.
I get asked this question a lot, and I love the question, and it's an important question for us to have in our relationships and, of course, in our culture. Like, when is it time to fight and when is it time not to fight? And over the course of my career, I've been teaching dialogue and debate for 20-something years now, none of which I'll ever get back. And one of the questions I always get is about what happens if it gets too much, too quick, too fast, and we start snowballing into anger and then to rage and then to something even worse. Over the course of 20 years or so, I would say that, of course, that is obviously a risk and we should be concerned about it. And maybe as human beings, we have a kind of negativity bias about what's the worst thing that can happen to us in this moment, and that's that. But the risk to me, most common in my experience, is actually the other direction, which is self-censorship, which is where we're so fearful of the worst case scenario that we actually short circuit an opportunity for connection, even if that connection includes some kind of conflict, even if that conflict includes some kind of anger. I'm not endorsing or talking about abuse. I'm not talking about trauma. I'm not talking about outright mistreatment. And I'm certainly not talking about chronic stress and yelling. But I'm talking about the kinds of anger that be connective. All of you, our listeners, I presume, can all think of a scenario in which you and somebody needed to have a fight, and the relationship actually got a lot better once you cleared the air. And so if we can approach potential conflicts with some curiosity and with not a sense of framing like this is just something like traffic that I have to endure, this is a real possibility for me to learn something about myself, about this other person, maybe about the world, and have some curiosity and kind of humanize the process of disagreement, right? Great minds don't always think alike. The other thing, too, when you're imagining your uncle, your aunt, whoever it is think about what you want out of the relationship. You don't have to fight all the time just for the sake of curiosity, although maybe some lives would be improved if we got a little bit more loose with our ability to have healthy conflict. But also, what do you want out of this relationship? If this is a once, twice a year relationship, maybe you come in, talk about your shared love of jazz music or pickleball or whatever it is, have a brief little conflict, and then go back to the relationship reaffirmation. Back to Marvin Gaye, back to pickleball, back to whatever it is that we share. So a kind of like conflict sandwich where we begin by reaffirming, hey, great to see you. I went to this concert. You're going to love this. Hey, this thing you said about that candidate, I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, we should go to a concert sometime.
Nicely done.
I can't believe he knew that I play pickleball while listening to Marvin Gaye.
It's unbelievable.
That's pretty
It's
incredible.
like he knows you already.
Mike, I want to talk about online relationships because I think at this point we all have some, especially over the past few years with COVID and having to work from home and whatnot. Weirdly enough, even though we're more connected than ever, there's also an increase in loneliness. People feel more lonely than ever. Why do you think that is? Why is it so important for people to, on top of their online relationships, still have some sort of physical contact relationships with people?
Yeah, the work we do at the Civility Initiative and the podcast I host, When We Disagree, really take these head on, which is I try to think of our national problem of polarization as not just problems we think of as anger and antagonism and red states and blue states and cancellation, but it's also problems of silence, right? Also problems of loneliness, of withdrawal, of isolation, of conflict avoidance, of not knowing each other's last names, of having diminished friend circles. And so the two, to me, work in tandem. All right, fight begets flight, and flight begets fight. In other words, the more I demonize you, the easier it is to run from you. And then the more I run from you, the easier it is to demonize you because I know that much less about you. Lots of psychologists, lots of sociologists, lots of nerdy academics talk about thin and thick ties. And there are some kinds of ties that are by necessity thin ties. And many online relationships happen to be thin ties. That's not to say that they're not real ties. That's not to say that we don't have real relationships. That's not to say that you can't get some of your social needs met in your online world. But many of our in-person relationships, our IRL relationships, promote a thickness of tie that's difficult to replicate. And that's really, really a big part of this epidemic of loneliness and isolation. Countries around the world are declaring epidemics of loneliness. And this is not just true in the Western world, throughout the globe. And so we have to do something to address both fight and flight, because if we do one without the other, it's like trying to mop up the floor while the sink's still on and overflowing. Right? Wow. You can't reduce each of these causes simultaneously. It's both simultaneously.
Now, I am someone who is by nature confrontational. I believe confrontation brings us closer together, and that's how we get it all out in the open. But if I'm trying to communicate with someone who is more of a freeze or flight person, and I am afraid I'm coming on too strong. So like my natural impulse is to go, let's knock this out. Let's do this right now. Let's talk it out and let's hear what you have to say. And that is immediately intimidating to that person. Any help for me as someone that it does come on too strong to find a way to communicate better or for my words to be more meaningful and less intimidating?
Well, this is the kind of follow-up questions I ask on the podcast. So if you'll just permit me one, are you confrontational in every walk of life, in every relationship, or just some?
I like to talk it out, always. I always would rather just go, hey, what's going on here? You think this, I think this. Like I'm here for it. I'm here for any level of discourse. If somebody wants to get angry, will breathe through it. And I think it at the end of the day will be healthier that we did it. And so I don't, that's just, maybe I just am broken, but that's how I approach it.
Well, I have a million follow-ups, but I'm not going to put you in the crosshairs just yet.
No, that's fine. I haven't gone to therapy in like 3 months, so this is good.
So one would be that to watch for the shutdown, because if a person feels like you're chasing them with questions and wanting to talk it out and is trying to get away, or that maybe they need some space, right? Maybe they just need a second to process this. The metaphor I've heard, which I'm taking, which I love, is for those of us who might be pursuers and you are faced with a withdrawer, if the person is withdrawing, it's like the turtle going into its shell. And do you want to go knock on that shell in the hopes that the situation is going to get better? And so working on what is it that makes you want to pursue quite so vehemently, even aggressively. Second, what's going on in your nervous system? What's going on in your body that says chase, 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 continue to talk? I do think there's a point to healthy conflict, but like everything, like fire, for instance, it can heat your house or it can burn it down. There is a kind of an art and a science to how we use these things, and so there's an art and a science to how we use healthy conflict. And then the third thing I'd ask, too, is what are you doing to reaffirm the relationship? So it's not just what you're saying. You might think you're saying things that are factual, studies you're citing, trying to find moral common ground, trying to reaffirm the relationship. But if you're doing so in such a way, either in terms of the words you're saying or the tone, right? You kind of sound sarcastic or huffy or dismissive or whatever, or aggressive, and the other person is hearing threat, if the other person is feeling and sensing threat, it doesn't really matter what you're saying, right? Because they're in an experience of fight or flight, as you put it, or maybe flight, or maybe freeze, or maybe fawn,
yeah.
and you're in a condition of fight, and then they might, let's say if they're in fawn, try to bend over backwards to pacify you, but it just sweeps it under the rug. And your whole point, which is, let's have a healthy conflict about this to get everything on the table. If they go into fawn, that erases the possibility of that outcome.
So I walk in, there's the nerd rope is right there. And
nerd ropes are so hard to find. But not the gummy clusters.
But I saw
rope.
it.
Okay.
I saw it and I said, this is wonderful. This is for me. It must be for me. I ate it. Dan comes in. He says, that was mine and you knew it. I said, I didn't know it was yours. He says, I don't believe you. At some point, it's a he said situation.
Tell us who's right, Mike.
How do we get past this? Because how do I convince him that I would never knowingly eat his nerd rope?
We were best friends before he knowingly stole my nerd rope.
How do you work through something like that?
I'll be honest. One, I got to get some of these nerd ropes because they sound like they're in high demand. And two,
phenomenal, Mike. They're
so
phenomenal.
Good. They're so
I don't think the best legal minds in American history could sort this out, and so I'm not qualified to weigh in.
Wow. He took the high road. Mike, you're wonderful. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast and how to listen.
Absolutely. We publish When We Disagree all over the internet, Apple, Spotify. Our website is When We Disagree at Buzzsprout. And so you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. We just released two more episodes this week, one about a relationship disagreement over politics, in fact. And so it's pretty appropriate for this show, a breakup because of a political disagreement.
Wow. Well, I don't know how that's relatable, but I'm sure somebody will relate to this. Somebody out there, maybe.
It's a reach. I get it.
Michael J. Lee is a professor of communication and director of the College of Charleston's Civility Initiative and is the host of When We Disagree, the podcast. Mike, thank you so much for coming in and joining us on Who What When. We really appreciate it.
I really appreciate y'all well. Thanks so much for this.
This is Who, What, When, an hour of history, games, and trivia on South Carolina Public Radio. I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. We're celebrating Valentine's Day this week, and we've still got our contestant Tim on the line with us. Dan, he won our first two rounds this hour. Now he has a chance to take home the title of Who, What, When Champion of the Week and get his very own trophy in the form of a Who, What, When fanny pack.
That's exactly right. And to do that, he'll have to get through our final game today. It's one we call History or His Story.
Yes.
And in honor of Valentine's Day, it's a special candy edition of the game.
Candy. I love the candy, Dan. Tim, here's how it's going to work. Dan has 3 stories from history dealing with candy.
You got it.
2 of them are real. They actually happened. One of them, Dan made it up. It is his story. He's a pretty good liar. It's pretty hard to figure out, but I believe that you can do this because after each one, you're going to get a chance to talk with me, and we'll try to figure this out together. I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. And that's History, His Story.
All right, these stories will be told in chronological order. We ready to roll? Here we
ready.
go. Let's go all the way back to World War I, shall we? They called that the war to end all wars. There was a really big conflation of alliances, nationalism, militarism, and imperialism that created quite a powder keg in Europe. You know all about that, Brian. The U.S. wasn't officially involved until 1917 after the sinking of the Lusitania, the unrestricted submarine warfare, and the Zimmerman telegram. The U.S. had to get involved. And the main source of troops came from the American Expeditionary Force, the Army's branch of the force that served in World War I, and it was led by John Pershing. They called him Blackjack. John Blackjack Pershing. That's exactly right. The American Expeditionary Force soldiers had received Hershey's Kisses in care packages over the past year of war. Why Hershey's Kisses?
Why Hershey Kisses?
They were invented in 1907, and the silver foil allowed them to travel overseas as a great gift from home, if you can believe it. So, the Second Battle of the Marne, we've talked about that on this program before, is the last major German offensive on the Western Front during World War I. It lasted 22 days in July and August, and an armistice, or a ceasefire, would occur 100 days after this last battle. The key to the Allies was holding the Marne River, specifically near Champagne, France. American expeditionary forces were stationed there, and an intense 3-day trench warfare battle started between the Germans and the American Expeditionary Force. The force was running low on supplies and was in need of backup. Backup would arrive on July 18th, but not before the AEF utilized their gifts of chocolate. For over 3 hours on the evening of July 17th, the American Expeditionary Force resulted to using the tin foil from their Hershey's Kisses as bullets to fire sparingly at the Germans while holding the Marne at Champagne. Now, a couple things to remember. Foil from the Kisses had been kept and collected as part of an effort to reuse, so there was a pretty big mound of this. Soldiers would ball it up very, very tightly and then Revolutionary War style fashion ramrods out of old broken bayonets to tamp the foil down in their guns. And these were not effective as actual bullets, or nor did they incite any wounds, but the fire from the foil bullets was enough to keep the Germans at bay, believing they were real bullets, until help arrived a mere 3 hours after the Hershey Kisses were needed on the morning of the 18th. Hershey Kisses as bullets. That's the end of story number 1. Brand, I heard a big no from you. What do you think?
Well, I just, listen, I've been hit by some
smooth criminals.
No, by some of this foil before. You know, see, as a kid, you eat some of these Hershey Kisses, and then you throw them at your buddy and all that stuff. Yeah. I know that they can sting, and I can't imagine if you push that sucker out of a gun, that's going to really sting. That's like a paintball coming at you, kind of. I don't know. This doesn't sound enjoyable. I can buy it as something that would work. My biggest concern here, I don't know. I just don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know if it's. I don't know.
These are stories about candy in war, Brand. They're all going to sound like you don't know.
Well, I don't know. Tim, what are you thinking?
It sounds a little far-fetched. I don't think aluminum production in the U.S. was really all that big at the time.
That's a great point.
And even if it were, they might be saving whatever they can for the war effort. So wrapping chocolates in it and trying to shoot them at the Germans, I don't know. Doesn't track right with me.
Tim doesn't listen to Miley Cyrus, but he knows his aluminum.
I love Tim's my favorite type of person. I got to be honest with you. Tim, as an aluminum head yourself, do you know when Hershey Kisses came out, were they not originally in aluminum, you think?
I have no idea. I would assume that they'd maybe in like a wax paper or something like that.
Wax paper. It's not even a Hershey Kiss at that point.
Tim, this is great. This is great insight. I'm not playing. I got nothing at stake here, but I like where your head's at. But we got two more stories, both of which are, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably just as far-fetched sounding, but let's find out.
Yep, here we go. Story number 2 about candy on this Valentine's Day episode of Who, What, When on South Carolina Public Radio starts right now. World War II. We did World War I. Why don't we do World War II next, Bran? World War II started in 1939 when Hitler invaded Poland. I think we all know that. The United States doesn't join until 1941 when Japan attacks Pearl Harbor. This takes place in 1937. The United States Army in 1937 was approached by the Hershey Company about specifically designing a candy bar for emergency use only for soldiers with specific requests. So, just to be clear, these soldiers in an emergency would like chocolate, basically.
Been there, man.
Right?
Been there.
So here were the requests. It had to weigh 4 ounces, had to be high in energy, had to withstand hotter temperatures, and had to taste okay. The army didn't want the bar to be so tasty the soldiers would eat it in non-emergency situations. So they asked Hershey to create something that didn't taste too good but could withstand hotter temperatures. Hershey said, okay, we'll do our best, and produced something they called the D-ration bar. It was a disaster. Couldn't fit through their manufacturing setup. It tasted terrible. It was too bitter. It was tough to bite into because it was designed to withstand the hot temps. Let's introduce Forrest Mars, Sr. of Mars Company. He heard about the U.S.'s need and set out to design a more useful product than the D-ration bar. Mars created a chocolate candy with a hard shell designed for carrying in warmer weather. It did taste good. It initially contained Hershey's chocolate, and these candies were manufactured and sold exclusively to the U.S. military until the end of the war. The only place you could buy these candies was nowhere. Only the Army had them. Only soldiers could eat them. Upon returning home, soldiers told their families about these amazing candy rations they had. Demand started to swell, and they wanted to have them when they got back home. And so finally, Mars released the product nationwide, and it's a product we now know as the M&M. Mm-hmm. The M&M ration is now the candy you buy in the store to this day. That's the end of story number 2. Brian, what do you think?
My whole up here is M&Ms are delicious, right?
Yeah.
One of the things was it just had to taste okay. You don't want it to be too good. This seems like Mars went above and beyond with the taste. Well, was there any pushback from the military, like, hey, these are too good, man?
Well, I think the first one was so bad that they backed off on the taste, and clearly soldiers were eating them before emergency situations.
Sure, clearly. But also, my thing, and I don't know, Tim, if you've had this experience with M&Ms, I don't know how much you eat M&Ms, but they do melt. They'll, like, was the military walking around
just said
with
to another red-blooded American, I don't know if you've eaten an M&M.
Tim, can you imagine these military guys out there with just like red and blue hands, just melted chocolate all over them? Tim, what are you thinking about this story? Do you buy it?
I mean, it's right there in the slogan, melts in your mouth, not in your hands. So, that being said, sounds plausible. And I could see that, military, meals ready to eat, rations had to survive for a while. I could see it. Being
an M&MRE. I love that very much.
That's good. That's good.
M&MRE.
M&MRE.
Before and after.
Fantastic. All right. We ready for our last story?
I'm ready.
Here we go. It's about candy. It's Who, What, When, a Valentine's Day episode here on South Carolina Public Radio. Here's your third story. Let's go to the Korean War. It took place from 1950 to 1953, a war between North and South Korea during the Cold War. At the end of World War II, Korea was liberated from Japanese control and divided into 2 zones of occupation, the North controlled by the Soviet Union and the South by capitalist countries and really the United States. In 1948, the 2 sovereign nations were established. And this was mainly a war of attrition that ended in a stalemate, a tie, and we still have these two countries to this day. So let me take you to the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir in November and December of 1950 in present-day North Korea. China had entered the war and surprised United States armed forces stationed at the Chosin Reservoir. This was a big turning point early on in the war, and the United States and United Nations forces were forced to retreat back to South Korea. Fewer than 2,000 troops survived, nicknaming themselves the Chosen Few. You get it, Bran? The Chosen Few.
I get it.
So they survived 17 days in freezing weather. It was 5 degrees at its height and minus 25 in the evening. Everything froze. Food rations were impossible to heat up. Artillery shells were not firing consistently. Outnumbered 15,000 to 120,000. The troops requested an airdrop of 60 millimeters mortar artillery, codenamed Tootsie Rolls. When they say we need 60 millimeters mortar artillery, Tootsie Rolls, they're asking for weapons.
Yep.
The Tootsie Roll call was misunderstood.
Yeah, I can see it.
An airdrop came to the Chosen Few. An airdrop of hundreds of thousands of actual Tootsie
What a
Rolls.
disaster.
So these troops, surrounded by Chinese and North Korean soldiers, receive what they think are mortar artillery shells, but instead are pallets upon pallets of the chocolate candy Tootsie Rolls. The Tootsie Rolls were still edible in cold weather, which was nice. And sometimes the soldiers would chew them up, and then the Tootsie Rolls would warm up before freezing again when exposed to the elements. They used the Tootsie Roll putty to patch bullet holes in vehicles, hoses, and other equipment. Upon fixing their things, the UN soldiers made it through enemy lines and retreated to safety in South Korea in spite of getting candy instead of bullets. That is the end of story number 3. Brand, what do you think?
Well, let's get this out of the way first. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but Tootsie Rolls are trash.
Wow.
So I said it. I put it out there. You can do what you want with that. So the most believable part of this story to me is that they had this many Tootsie Rolls ready to go because it's not like anyone's buying them. So I can believe it. I can see it. I think this one might be possible. Tim, what are you thinking? And do you like Tootsie Rolls, or can we still be friends?
I'm pretty indifferent to them.
I'll allow
I don't seek them out, but if there's a little tray at the DMV or whatever, I'm gonna take one.
It's a great DMV candy. Yeah, I'll give it that.
Fair. What do you think about the story?
Oh, the story's 100% true. I know about the Chosen Reservoir for sure.
He knows about the Chosen Reservoir. This guy. He knows his foil. He knows about the Chosen Reservoir. All right, Tim, let's get the brass tacks here. Let's see if you can narrow it down to the 2 real stories about candy. Here they are again. In World War I, soldiers used the aluminum foil from Hershey's Kisses as makeshift ammunition. Story number 2, in World War II, the need for rations led to the creation of M&Ms. And story number 3, in the Korean War, a miscommunication led to hundreds of thousands of Tootsie Rolls being airdropped to United States troops. Which of these stories do you think are history, and which one is my story?
So if they're going to melt down all this aluminum foil to make bullets, they still have to have the bullet casings and the black powder and the primers and all that. I don't think that they were doing that. So I'm going with number 2 and number 3 as the correct ones, and number 1 is incorrect.
Incredible. I got to be honest. I didn't have a dog in this fight, Tim. I could have been swayed either way. I'm the most confident I've ever been that you are correct. You've convinced me so wholeheartedly that number 1 is Dan's story that I feel like I can actually walk out because I already know that you're going to be correct. But let's find out.
It's like that guy on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire calling his dad.
Hey, Dad, I'm about to be a millionaire.
$1 million. Yeah. Tim,
hey, Dan,
you're
going to win a fanny pack.
I love it.
You want us to get your dad on the line?
Get your dad. Let's get Tim's dad on the line. The Tootsie Roll story is 100% true.
Of course.
They dropped real candy instead of the artillery. That's fantastic. The M&M story also true. Of course. Tim is going home with a Who What When fanny pack.
Amazing, Tim. You did it.
Oh man, this is the best day of my life.
Wow.
Wait until your wife hears that here on Valentine's Day. Tim, congratulations.
I'll even let her borrow the fanny pack.
Well, actually, you're not allowed to. It's in the contract. You'll sign it.
You can't
but
do that.
We are so proud of you and happy for you. This is a big day, not just in your life, but in our life, because You love to see somebody who does so bad in one segment, and segment 2 still win. It's a beautiful
He doesn't
thing.
know Miley. He doesn't know T-Swift, but he
don't
knows
need to.
aluminum foil, and that's what
Miley
counts.
Cyrus, it's my Achilles heel. Yeah.
We all have one. Tim, congratulations and happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Valentine's to everybody listening.
And that brings us to the end of a very special Valentine's Day edition of Who, What, When. Thank you so much to our contestants, Tim and Rob, for playing with us today. It was a lot of fun. And congratulations to you, Tim, for coming out on top as the Who, What, When champion of the week.
Our producer is A.T. Shire. Our executive producer is Sean Birch, who isn't afraid to profess his love of those conversation candy hearts. This show's a production of South Carolina Public Radio and is made possible in part by listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
If you want to be a contestant on a future episode of Who Will Win, call or text us 803-470-6347 or send us an email to whowhatwin@scpublicradio.org.
You can find out more about the show at our website, southcarolinapublicradio.org/whowhatwin.
And you can subscribe to Who, What, When wherever you listen to podcasts or listen through your smart speaker by asking that sucker to play Who, What, When.
I'm Daniel Thompson.
And I'm Brandon Gray. Join us next week for more history, games, and trivia right here on Who, What, When.